Hey channel, Fernando from SkyFi Audio. If anyone had asked me over the last 5 years what would be the ideal next product release for Mcintosh, 100% of the time I would have said, give me an all-tube integrated amplifier. Something under 100 watts, all-tube, both the preamp and the output stage. Give me a good phono capabilities, ideally an equalizer, something that we can use to drive high-efficiency speakers. You know we love Klipsch, La Scalas, Heresies, Cornwalls, they're absolutely amazing. But we really haven't had anything integrated in a single package from Mcintosh to offer for it. And this is it. So in this video, I'm going to share my excitement. I'm going to go over the design, capabilities, the features, what's in it, what's not, which is almost as important. And I'm not going to go deep into the menus and bore you with that stuff, but I'm going to go over very high-level stuff and why this is going to be a killer piece for Mcintosh. And then towards the end, I'm going to play a record. I'm going to play something really special that was just released, one of my absolute favorite songs, on a turntable connected to this beauty and to the set of La Scala sitting right over there. So thanks for watching, and hang tight. We're going to jump right in. So this is a all-tube integrated amplifier. That means we've got a preamp section and an amplifier in the same box. So this could potentially be a one-piece solution for a stereo, as long as you add a separate source, be it phono or DAC. At 75 watts times 2, it is the sweet spot for tube amplification. Not too much heat and enough to drive most speakers. Now, it is an all-analog piece, meaning that there's no DAC in here. There's no aging electronics that you usually get when you buy a DAC. DACs change all the time. Almost every year, some new something is introduced, and you end up over a few years with an obsolete piece of equipment. So we like that there's nothing digital in this piece. And building an old tube integrated amplifier is not an easy accomplishment. It takes a lot of components. You've got to manage heat, you've got to manage noise, you've got some physical restraints. So this ends up being a fairly large piece to do 75 watts. As you can see, it is fairly tall, it's heavy, pushing almost 100 pounds. And the worst part is that it's pretty deep, so it's not going to work for a lot of racks. I think this is almost 20 inches front to back when you consider everything. Its predecessor, the MA2275, was slightly different than this. Similar configuration, a different form factor, and it had a phono section. That's the electronics that manages the input from your phono cartridge, which was all tubed. And that's not the case in this piece. The phono gain section is actually done with solid-state devices, and then that signal is fed through the rest of the tube path. So it's not a lot to give up, and it's a good way to keep the noise floor or the noise from the phono section as low as possible. And the best part about this piece is that it's built by Mcintosh. It's very difficult to do an integrated amplifier with a low noise floor, which is fairly important because we're going to be using this with high efficiency speakers. High efficiency speakers tend to reveal every single little bit of noise in the signal path. And Mcintosh, with all their experience, is amazing at building quiet pieces. If you look and you compare this to some of the boutique brands, some of the small makers of integrated amplifiers, their noise floor often will not work with a very high efficiency speaker like, let's say, the Klipsch La Scala at 104 dBs. So you've got to be careful when you match a high efficiency speaker to a tube amplifier. And as a matter of fact, we've got an MA2275 right now for sale on our website, and I'll link below in the comments for you in case you're interested. It's also a very different form factor, and that's the second thing I'm a little bummed about, is that while this is a fairly cool design, I like a conventional form factor with a faceplate, traditional faceplate. So I wasn't sure which way they were going to go, but it made sense for Mcintosh to mimic the MA2375, which is sitting right here. It's the same chassis, the same configuration, except that you'll see that the amplifier section has heat sinks on it, which means this is in fact a solid state version. But in terms of the circuitry and layout, it's well, not circuitry, but in terms of layout, this is its closest sibling. So on the front, we've got the 2 VU meters, 4 preamp vacuum tubes in the front, and 5-band graphic equalizer. And then we've got an input selector, headphones, and the volume control over here. On the back, there's a lot happening here, so let me move the tube cage out of the way. Has this nice little rubber feet, so it keeps you from scratching like the old days. We've got the 4 KT88s. These are what gives us the 75 watts per channel. And then you've got these 4 2 per channel driver tubes. These essentially completes the amplification stage, along with the mains transformer, which is here, and the output transformers, which are here, which are mandatory for tube amplifiers, at least most of them. Other thing that's super neat is that they are giving us taps for 4, 8, and 16 ohms, which is ideal for a tube amplifier if you're going to use it with vintage equipment. There are tons of really cool vintage speakers out there that run on 16 ohms. There aren't very many that run on 2 ohms, so we'd like to see that gone. And we have these 3 tabs providing every single bit of the 75 watts, regardless of where you connect. And not a lot of amplifiers are capable of doing that. So when you're looking at specifications, you got to look very carefully, because they always they try to trick people as to what its actual power capabilities are based on the taps. Now you'll notice that while this is very similar to the MC275, which is Mcintosh's legendary 2-channel amplifier that they've been making for half a century or more, it's shy 2 tubes, and I spoke to Ben, one of our technicians, and he feels that it's because the preamp stage in this integrated is already balanced, so there's no need for additional tubes to invert the signal and to separate it, so hence the 2 missing tubes. Correction, let's say 3 missing tubes. Your inputs and outputs, you'll notice there's nothing digital in the back. We've got 2 sets of balanced inputs. We've got 3 sets of single-ended inputs, or RCA. And then for outputs, we've got a subwoofer output, which is a full range output, and we've got a second set of preamp outputs in case you want to run dual or mono subs. We've got a grounding wire and our phono input, which is in fact moving coil and moving magnet, an amazing addition to this piece. The 352 does not have it. It's only capable of moving magnet. On this piece now we've got both moving magnet and moving coil with adjustments for impedance, loading, and capacitance. And then the last connections, and sorry for the glare, this stuff is impossible to film. We've got 12-volt triggers to connect other Mcintosh equipment, so that when you, for example, if you got a CD player and you want it to turn on when the integrated amp turns on, a little 12-volt trigger wire will allow these to talk to each other, so you can have a single power control. Like old Mcintosh amplifiers, we've got some great protection built into this. We've got Power Guard, which essentially ensures that when you're overdriving your speakers, there's no damage to be had. And it's got Sentry monitoring, which allows, in case there's a misconnection or a short somewhere, protects the amplifier from committing suicide. So let's talk about price. Now, this is not an inexpensive piece. I mean, it's made right here in America. It uses a ton of copper and steel, some amazing engineering from the best company to ever produce audio equipment. It's priced at $15,000. And what are you getting? You're getting a preamp, you're getting an amp, and you're getting an equalizer along with a phono stage. Now, comparable to this, if you're in the Mcintosh world, well, you could get this instead. The Mcintosh C22, which is my favorite preamp from Mcintosh, all tubed, including the phono section, very capable, all analog preamp. And the MC275, remember, this is what the piece in question is based on, the amplification section. So both of these, along with an MQ112, which is the equalizer, that would add up to $18,500. So if you've got room for the separates and a couple grand to spend more, absolutely do it with 3 separate pieces. MQ112, 8 bands, quite a bit more features, including this really cool tilt control that I love. I did a video on this a while back. I'll post that below for you as well. So at $18,500, I'd encourage you to get separates, but if you're sort of tight on room or you want the simplicity of a single piece, then the MA2375 is the right piece for you. Now, if you don't need tubes or don't want tubes for some reason, let's say you've got a set of speakers that are more demanding, then the MA352 is the right piece for you. This is 200 watts, the same preamp section, and the same equalizer and feature set that we're discussing today in a solid state hybrid package. Tube front end, solid state for the amplification. Now, in terms of placement, you'll have to consider a few things, not just the depth at 19, 20 inches, but also the fact that it's a fairly tall piece, and because the tubes are here in the back exposed or somewhat exposed, they're calling for quite a bit of clearance, almost 17 to 19 inches of clearance. That's a worst case scenario, but I like to kind of follow what manufacturers require. So this should likely sit on top of your audio rack or a piece of furniture rather than inside of a cabinet. If you want to complete your system utilizing Mcintosh, which is always the best sort of cosmetic match, this is the MT2. This is probably the right price performance for that piece. Comes with a cartridge, beautiful piece. It's not lit up right now, but trust me, it's quite a looker. and it's a great performer as well. Above this is the MT5, which I don't have here, and then above that would be the MT10, which is that turntable here. For speakers, within the Mcintosh range, there's really nothing to be run with 75 watts, but we can look at Sonos Faber, these concertinos, for example. Some of these Olympicas would be a nice match at 75 watts. Now, you're not going to be able to play super loud, but they should be very musical. And of course, if you're a fan of our channel, you know how much we love Klipsch. My absolute favorite speaker on the market, the Klipsch La Scala, is sitting right here. That's where we're going to listen to. Really anything from the Heritage line. They're all very efficient and will do incredibly well with 75 watts. Actually, 75 watts is orders of magnitude more than they need. These, for example, are 104 dBs and you know, just need about 5 or 6 watts. So 75 should do very well. So the La Scalas, below that is the Cornwalls, and then the Fortes are there, and the Heresies are sitting here. In terms of sound and performance, this should be pretty close to what we're used to, and we're super familiar with this, the C22 with the MC275, but we're going to hook it up and verify that. All right, before we go over the system and the demo, I've got a favor to ask you guys. If you could please leave a comment below, it would really help the channel. Now, I'd love to know what you think of this piece and what you would have done differently, if anything. Mcintosh is listening. They've got ears everywhere. They love to get feedback. I love to sort of gather stuff from the internet and from other people on opinions on future products and, you know, modifications. So please leave a comment, say hello, chime in, let me know if you like this, perhaps a different form factor, different power rating, maybe you want a DAC in it. And be sure to subscribe to our channel. SkyFiRoto.com is our website where you can find all of this crazy stuff. All right, so I've selected the MT2 from Mcintosh to, I think it's a really nice match or pairing for the 2375. Comes with a Sumiko moving coil cartridge. I might recommend an upgrade, maybe go into a moving coil now that we can. That is in fact moving magnet. But it's a lovely turntable, very capable and priced accordingly for a system configuration of this nature. For cables, I am using Kimber throughout. I'm using Heroes. I probably should have grabbed some TaxiUs, but I've got Heroes here with a separate ground, and the ATC, which I love. Now for the record, absolute favorite new release from Zanja Records, Havana Negra. I'm going to play the second track, which I'm obsessed with. Thanks to my friend Alex for donating these to us. And for the next 25 or so people that buy a turntable from us, we're going to include a copy of one of his releases. This is all Cuban music. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going to play La Serpiente. Let's get started. Now listen, I understand that hearing a record over YouTube is in no way to audition a system, but for you, those of you that don't have access to local hi-fi stores, you always ask me, Fernando, please play something. Even if it's not the absolute best quality, that way we can get a sense and a feel for what things can do. But I encourage you to visit your local dealer if you want to hear something exactly the way it's meant to be.